Are the Thai government prudes? Are there amendments needed to the pornography laws? And the latest on the reopening at Good Morning Thailand on the Thaiger. Hello and good morning Thailand. I'm Jay and joining me today is Tim Newton.
Hi Jay and hello viewers.
Hello everyone. Indeed, Tim.
Can I first apologise? I've got a bit of a red eye special today.
Oh.
I get a bit of sort of allergies this time of the year from the mould, and I made the cardinal sin of rubbing my eyes, which just makes it a whole lot worse. So apologies.
Never rub your eyes, people.
I'm fine.
Right. Tim, before we start, I've got some good news.
Oh, yeah.
Today marks the first day since July 16th that the number of infections, of COVID-19 infections, have gone under 10,000.
Fantastic. That's the sort of news we want.
That's right. And, we peaked in August 13th with 23,418 infections. But finally, today, after months, we've gone down to 10,000. And hopefully this continues to go down. So some good news.
The graph is going in the right direction.
Yeah. Right. Before we start, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Coffee Culture, for providing us amazing coffee and beautiful mugs available on coffeeculture.asia. Limited to 100 cups, so get your cups now.
Thank you very much.
Also, your blend of coffee from around Thailand. Right, Tim, let's get into our first topic today. We did actually polls yesterday, didn't we? We did 2 polls and we asked the viewers 2 questions. The first question being, Thailand is going to open up generally to travelers on November the 1st. Now that's referring to the reopening. Or is it? There's been a lot of pressure from the tourism sector to open the borders, reduce or remove quarantine altogether, but different sectors of government are coming up with their own agendas. So will Thailand reopen to tourists on November the 1st was the question, and 71% of you said no.
But 29% said yes. I should also mention we had 2,000 votes.
Yes.
So people still voting on that one. Please, you can still vote and make comments about the poll, which is on our YouTube channel, but it won't be reflected in these particular numbers.
Right, and we actually have some comments here from some of our viewers who are allowed to comment on the polls. I have a comment here from AM Radio Busan who says, I live in Korea. Round trip air tickets from anywhere in Korea to Bangkok cost around $500. The thing is, additional costs incurred by current Phuket Sandbox scheme entry requirements, i.e. PCR tests, mandatory insurance, they all add up to $500. I feel, and I am paying double the usual price.
Yeah, I think this is part of the issue that used to be that your ticket cost was your major cost to get to a country. Now, if you want to come to Thailand, you have to figure in all these other costs. At this stage, although it looks like things are slowly opening up, we'll get to that later. Alexander said they changed the goalposts so often that it's created a despondency among many would-be travellers, so much so that people are actually afraid to travel to Thailand in the fear of further changes and of their travel arrangements being disrupted. Well, I think that would be a fair comment to make, say, 2 months ago. But I think at the moment, if you make plans to come here, you're going to find the restrictions easing rather than getting worse at this stage. Having said that, of course, anything could happen, but I think we're headed in the right direction in regards to the restrictions and things like the curfew.
Right, and Paul continued and said both options, depending on what day you asked and what hour of the day. At this stage, all bets are off, and the general incompetence of the leaders is making them the laughing stock on the world stage.
And Ken Lizio, just one final comment on this matter. He said, I think it will be the 1st of December, but that will be pointless if entertainment venues and bars are not open by then. I think your feelings are shared by many, Ken.
Right. Thank you for the comments, everyone. This takes us to our second poll. This was now answered by 1,800 people. And the question was, reopening Thailand, what does this mean? Does it mean reopening the borders, but still with lots of paperwork and hurdles before you can come? Or does it mean no quarantine, no vaccine mandate, and no restrictions, or somewhere between the two? Now, the majority of you, 44%, said don't reopen until all current restrictions and curfews have been removed. Second, 34% of you said open the borders, but carefully restrict and screen arrivals.
Which is sort of No, they're not quite slightly similar.
Yeah, 19% of you said non-vaccinated tourists, no PCR tests, no restrictions, and 2% of you said...
This is telling.
Yeah, 2% of you said the current level of restrictions and paperwork is reasonable.
One of the comments, Erickson Smith said the borders have been open for more than a year. Why do people keep saying that Thailand needs to open the borders? Technically, you're correct, Erickson, but of course there have been a lot of restrictions to get back to the country, and it was only since July the 1st when the Phuket sandbox was introduced after April that the sort of a way to come into Thailand has been manageable and at least sort of written down and codified in law. As it is, yes, you have been able to travel to Thailand, but there's been a lot more restrictions. But the good news is that these restrictions are slowly easing, of which we'll get to a little bit later.
Right. Thank you to all the viewers who took part in the poll. As for now, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and talk about if amendments are needed for pornography laws in Thailand.
Can we keep our clothes on?
Yes, we can.
Good.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand with me, Jay and Tim. And now it's time to talk about our first topic today regarding if amendments are needed for the pornography laws in Thailand. Now,
cue the 1970s porn soundtrack.
I don't know if that is, but I wouldn't know. On Monday night, this story is relevant because Sutanya Nakonchinda, a 19-year-old young woman also known as Nong Khai Nao, and her boyfriend Korakot Sarirat, who was 20 years old, were arrested at a motel in Samut Prakan. Now, they were arrested because they were filming explicit content privately in their own room, but broadcasting it on their OnlyFans account.
Yeah, this has really kicked off on social media, and it looks like it's not just people talking about OnlyFans and stuff, and making Nong Khai now sort of famous.
Yes.
Even though it appears her OnlyFans account is now inactive.
That's correct.
She had 460 photos, we checked all this,
yes.
26 videos, and 20,000 likes on her channel. So she was quite popular.
Yeah.
And probably making a little bit of a living out of it.
Oh, definitely, yes.
So the question is it about time that Thailand had a look at its pornography laws and the sort of the indiscriminate and capricious way the police tend to do these crackdowns?
Yeah.
Of course, because there was the high-profile case of what's his name, the policeman,
Joe Ferrari.
Joe Ferrari.
Yes.
People were saying, but look at Joe Ferrari, the way that the police are conducting that investigation, and look at Nong Khai now. How can you compare the two? She was forced to parade in front of the Thai media at a media conference.
That's exactly right. And that actually enraged and shocked a lot of people because they're treating her similarly to an alleged killer cop.
Yes, I think that parading her in front of the Thai media was completely unnecessary. Should know that this sort of thing does happen quite often in Thailand. Another interesting thing that happens when there are criminal cases is there's usually a reenactment.
Yes.
Where they go out and they sort of reenact the crime, and it's a big sort of photo opportunity for the media, and people get outraged and this reenactment is sort of a very Thai thing, doesn't happen in a lot of other countries. I'm wondering if they're going to have to reenact the crime for Nong Khai now.
I hope not.
So the Thai media going, oh, that's shocking, I'd better take more photos.
With all the clothes on, hopefully, as well.
Oh no, it have to be reenacted properly and authentically.
Oh dear.
So, yeah, what's your feeling about this, Jay? I mean, are the Thai police overstepping their mark on this, or why this crackdown? Are they trying to hide some other story? It just seems to me to be a real storm in a teacup. But people on Thai media are really upset about this.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have very strong opinions about this because, OnlyFans, to be an OnlyFans creator, it's a private account, essentially, and a subscription-based platform. So it has a certain level of privatization. So if you do want to watch the content, you have to be able to pay for it. It's not just easily accessible for everyone.
You have to prove that you're over 18.
That's correct. And you have to be verified. The information is on there, and the police are almost making a show out of this. And a lot of the people are saying that there's so many things going wrong in Thailand. There's so many crimes. There's child pornography. There's rape. There's, killings. Why are OnlyFans content creators being arrested, and a show has been making out of them, and they've been making conferences and telling them, how dare you do this, we're going to crack down on you, and this is not allowed in Thailand. How about the sex workers who are standing in outside,
middle of Sukhumvit Road,
outside bars and visibly and openly promoting prostitution?
Well, yeah, and of course you've got the actual bar girls themselves and the bar boys who are available for rent at a negotiated price.
Yeah.
And so this whole sex industry is like
Exactly.
wide open,
Yes.
in your face.
It's no secret. It's an open area, and some people can stand out and sell prostitution. However, they can't do it in OnlyFans. Why exactly? Some people have the opinion that it's because the cops aren't being paid off and they don't get anything from the OnlyFans creator. Maybe that's why they're trying to make a point. That's why they're trying to make a show out of it. Some people allegedly. Some people are saying that they're going to deflect, from real problems like the Joe Ferrari case. Very strong opinions on that. But it does feel that, this is disproportionate to the crime.
This has been said by a gentleman called Juray Singha Kowinta, who
Yes.
is a lecturer at the United School of Social Environmental Development. Actually, we've contacted him to see if we can do an interview, because he basically said that the arrest of Nong Kai, which is her stage name, not her real name,
Yes.
was unreasonable and dehumanising. And it's not right to arrest her at her residence and force her to appear at a press conference later. He's had quite a lot to say in that Bangkok Post article.
That's right.
So is it the place of the police and the government to just indiscriminately apply this, what's called the Computer Crime Act? It seems that something that they don't like just suddenly becomes a computer crime.
Yeah.
So, my feeling generally is that the government's place is not in the bedroom. And these moral decisions should be made by people, maybe even religious leaders. So I'm actually surprised in our comments that people aren't saying, oh, this is dreadful, this is shocking, how dare you talk about these things. But we haven't had the moral police getting outraged on our comments. But I'm thinking that there's a lot of examples of people who have been struggling during COVID. One of them, also quoted in that Bangkok Post article, is a 40-year-old male model and personal trainer who, he said, I had to do it to make ends meet.
Yeah.
I couldn't go out and do the personal training with my customers. What am I to do? This was an outlet for him, and the platform is legal. But the Thai government say, no, what you did by taking your gear off is not legal. And I'm just thinking that is not the place of the government to be making these decisions.
Right, and that is our topic basically on should amendments be made to these laws? Should amendments need to be made for pornography and sex workers? Because they do have rights, they're human beings.
Well, I think a lot of the problem is that there aren't specific laws.
Yes.
That things like prostitution is not technically illegal, but things like soliciting people for sex, hanging around on streets, things like that are. But there's nothing in the Thai statutes that says prostitution is illegal. So I think they probably just need to be much more upfront in saying, here are the actual guidelines. Things in other countries, prostitution is legal, and people get registered, and they get social security, and they can apply for jobs, and they have to pay tax. But here in Thailand, it's a completely underground industry, which leaves a lot of space for people taking advantage of the workers. Heaven forbid that happens quite a lot in the past. And I think by the Thai government actually making some proper legislation on these matters, admitting that these things happen and are part of the economy in the country, and then they can tighten up on it, make some real rules, and perhaps even make some tax out of it.
Right, real rules that are not vague and clear, hopefully. Right, we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and talk about the reopening once again. See you after this break. Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Thailand. I'm Jay and this is Tim. Tim, it's time to talk about the reopening again.
Just one little thing about the last topic. I just found the police were quoted as saying, related to the arrest of Nongkai Now and her male partner, they did it to maintain peace and morality in society.
All right.
Yeah, good on you.
Okay. Now, it's time to talk about the reopening again. Tim, what's happening on November the 1st?
Okay, so the details, we've got this emergency decree now extended until the end of November.
Okay.
So everything is done in context with the emergency decree. The changes we're about to talk about are going to be discussed in the Thai cabinet today. So they're not official until they've been discussed and passed in the cabinet and then get rubber stamped in the Royal Gazette. That hasn't happened. But what they're saying is that the quarantine will be scrapped from November the 1st. Now, This hasn't been finally decided, but this is what they're proposing. But what it also means is that from October the 1st, which is, let's see, 3 days' time, they're going to reduce the quarantine time for vaccinated travellers to 7 days.
Okay.
And if you're unvaccinated, the quarantine time will be reduced to between 10 and 14 days, depending where you come from and depending on where you intend to go in Thailand. So we need to know the details on that. But the big narrative, or the big story, is that the quarantine will be scrapped if these proposals are approved today from November the 1st. I think that's a big story.
Yeah.
The regions that they're going to be doing this for include Chiang Mai, Phang Nga, Krabi, Hua Hin, Pattaya and Cha Am, which obviously includes Hua Hin. Well, no, it's just north of Hua Hin. Very beautiful area, by the way.
Okay.
So, yeah, so they're opening up the sandbox, I suppose they're saying, and they're saying, well, no quarantine after November the 1st.
What about the curfews?
Okay, so the curfews will remain for the 29 dark red zone areas, which includes Bangkok and Pattaya.
Okay.
The curfew, however, is going to be, are you ready? Roll the drums. Cut by 1 hour, so it'll go from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. instead of from 9 p.m. And the shops, the shopping centres and the stores that are open will be able to remain open until 9 p.m.
rather than 8.
Yes. Okay. So you used to have to rush into 7-Eleven at 7:59 to grab your mashed potatoes, but now you can go in until 9 p.m. Mashed potatoes?
Mashed potatoes, 7-Eleven.
Random. A review of the curfew for those 29 dark red zones is 2 weeks away. And alcohol does remain banned at restaurants. Bars and clubs still can't open as of this review. And the PCR tests when you arrive in Thailand will go from 3 tests to 2 tests. But the visitor will still have to pay for those. Still seems like a lot of tests to me. Right. That's basically what's coming up in the next couple of months as regarding the reopening story.
Anything else to add, Tim?
That's about it. Oh, one quick thing I just noticed on, this is a bit like at the Apple presentations. One more thing. I just noticed that the Phuket governor, just opening the story up here on the Thaiger, the Phuket governor petitions Bangkok to end restaurant alcohol ban and bar closure order. Clearly, the sandbox, one of the biggest problems has been the limitations on the things that the arriving travellers can do here. They've got 14 days to wander around the island and enjoy everything Phuket has to offer, but there hasn't been that much to offer. So if they can lift the restrictions on bars and allow people to drink alcohol at restaurants, mind you, I visited a couple of restaurants over the weekend and the alcohol was flowing.
I see.
And I think that's been happening a little bit sort of under the table. Doesn't happen at all. No names mentioned, but I think that's been happening. But yeah, the Phuket governor wants to clarify that situation.
It's okay. Some people like to enjoy some late evening tea in their teacups.
Of course.
Right. And those are all the news for today. Anything to add, Jason? Vocal as usual. Right. I'd like to thank Tim for joining us.
Jason's direction was, what?
And I'd like to thank Jason behind the buttons, and thank you viewers for joining our show today. If you do have any comments or feedback, please leave them in the comment section below. Click like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoy the Thaiger, and of course more updated information on thethaiger.com. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow.